Tuesday, 2 days ago, was the beginning of the end for Obamacare. The district court judge in Oklahoma ruled in favor of Scott Pruitt, the Attorney General of Oklahoma's lawsuit against Obamacare. Pruitt was the one who originally thought up the idea of suing based on the idea that the Affordable Care Act says you may only give subsidies to people who are enrolled through state exchanges, while the federal government was taking the view, the IRS was the view, we'll sign anybody up whether they came in through state or federal exchanges. Now, there have been other lawsuits on the same subject in Richmond and in D.C. And in Richmond, the court ruled for Obamacare, and in D.C., the three-judge circuit panel ruled for our side, but the full court is stacked with the Democrats, and they'll probably reverse it. But this Oklahoma decision will probably stand because the Circuit Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit, that area is a very conservative bench and most likely will affirm that ruling. And then it'll go to the Supreme Court. And I think in the Supreme Court, Roberts and Kennedy are strict constructionists. They're going to look at the language that says only through state exchanges, and they're going to say that means only through state exchanges. They're not going to read the word state to mean the word federal and state, which is what you'd have to do. Their view will be, we're not overturning the Affordable Care Act. We're just reading it, and we're affirming it. We're not overturning it. Now, of course, if that happens, and by the way, the other reason they do it is every single Republican-appointed judge has come to that conclusion, and every single Democrat-appointed judge has come to the opposite conclusion. And I think that the Republican conclusion is the right one. It's obvious. The law says state exchanges, not federal exchanges. Now, that will set in motion a variety of events that I think will really leave us in a much, much better place. If the Republicans win the Senate, which I think they are likely to do, although everything could change, but if the Republicans win the Senate, then the minute that Supreme Court decision hits, 8, 10, 12, 15 million people by then will have signed up for subsidies under the federal exchanges. And they'll be out of health insurance. They'll have plans they can't possibly pay for. These high inflated costs of plans with covering everything in the kitchen sink, whether they need it or want it or not, are so expensive that people can't possibly pay those premiums without subsidy. And at that point, 10 million odd people will be out of health insurance, and they're going to raise hell. They're going to say, I had a perfectly good health insurance plan. You closed it down on me. You forced me into the federal exchanges. You gave me a policy that was more comprehensive than I needed or wanted. You charged me more than I could afford, and you gave me a subsidy that you're now taking away. And Washington is going to have to act. And I think at that point, the House and the Senate, both in Republican control, will pass the Republican alternative to health care that's already passed the House just as a symbolic measure. And it's a great bill. It says you can't kick anyone off for pre-existing conditions or discriminate against them. It says you can't raise their premiums or terminate coverage when they get sick. But it also says you don't have to buy insurance. The employer doesn't have to offer it. But if you want to buy the insurance, you can buy any plan you want, covering anything you need. But we will give you tax credits if you need it to help you afford it. And if you're in a really high level where you're constantly needing medical care, we'll put you under Medicare and pay for all of it. It's a great plan. A third of the cost or half the cost of Obamacare, probably even less. And I think the House and the Senate will pass that at that point, and Obama has to sign it. He can't veto it and leave 10 million people uninsured and uncovered going into the 2016 presidential election. So that's why I believe that if we win the Senate, this decision 2 days ago by a courageous district court judge in Oklahoma on a case creatively brought by my new hero, Scott Pruitt, the Attorney General of Oklahoma, could be the end of Obamacare. And really terminate what Eileen and I have called in our book the power grab, his dangerous plan for a one-party country. He wants everybody under Obamacare, all dependent on federal subsidies, paying for premiums they can't possibly afford without the subsidies, so they reliably vote Democrat in perpetuity and keep Obama in power. I hope you pick up a copy of our new book, Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation. And by the way, check out Eileen's website, thehillarydaily.com. Check it out every hour. She's posting new material throughout the day. Thanks a lot for watching.